And today I'm going to go into more depth to give you more of my tips to make it even easier as you go about planning your high school at home. So I basically call this 4 tips, but when I went to plan, I came up with more like 6. So we'll see how much time I have today. So I would say let's start at the beginning, and that would be step 1, of course. So the interesting thing about step 1 is when you start, you want to have an idea of the end in mind. So when you're starting to homeschool, it's helpful to have a guess as to whether your student will be going on to college, maybe community college, a trade school, or right into employment. Not that you know the specifics, not that you know which it's going to be, but having a general idea of which it might be so that that can help you with your research. So in step 1, the very beginning step I recommend is that you find out what your homeschool law says. In your state, there's regulations for homeschooling, and most states don't have specifics related to high school. They leave that to the parent to decide. But just to get a general idea, it's helpful if you Google homeschool law in your state, and then you will find the information that you need related to your homeschool law. Another good place to find that is the HSLDA site. And if you go there and you search for homeschool law, they have it all written out real nice for you. Not to make you think this is a cumbersome thing at all. It's just helpful. There's just a couple states that lay out, we want you to do this much English, this much science, and so forth. There's only 2 states out of 50 that lay that out. So it's helpful just to look at that and get an idea of what your homeschool law says. And a lot of you already know this because you've homeschooled. Oh goodness, that's my kitten. You've homeschooled your kids from years before, especially for new parents. It's helpful to take a look at that. And you have questions about your homeschool law, feel free to send me a message at BJ's Homeschool. I'd be happy to help you. So then the next thing related to getting started is to research what your student would need with the end in mind. So let's start with if they're likely to go directly to college. We talked about that already. The important thing to do is to find out what the college freshman entrance requirements are. And I cover that in chapter 3 of my book, How to Do That. And there's a few examples of like what a typical state university requires versus even an Ivy, or what a private Christian college requires, and or a private elite college. It gives you an idea. The requirements are going to be fairly similar from college to college, but they're not going to be the same. So it's helpful to look at 3 or 4 colleges and then to use the form I have here, college entrance requirements form, if you can see that here, to list out the kinds of things the college is asking for, such as how many credits in English, math, social studies, science, foreign language, fine arts, and then I left a space for electives too. And they'll also tell you how many credits that they want to see your student earn during high school, which is usually about 22 to 24 credits. And this gives you your basic requirements for your student if they're aiming towards college. And that's a great starting point. The gift of homeschooling high school is that we do not have to follow the public school graduation requirements. Lots of homeschoolers think that we need to do that, but the homeschool law is the thing to check, not the public school graduation requirements. We don't have to do those. If your student's going to college, you need to look at what we just talked about, the college entrance requirements, and the homeschool law to find out if you're one of the two states that has specific requirements. That's all you need to do. And then what you can do after that is you have the freedom to decide what else your student needs to make a good nurturing, fun, and motivating high school experience for them. So you can add in electives, you can add in high school activities. Those can become credits even, and that's why I so enjoyed doing my high school with my daughter, because she was able to explore her interests, and we had plenty of time to do that versus if she had been a public school student. So the same planning principle for step one it relates also to if your student is going to go to a trade school or a community college or right into a profession. You want to look at what they would require, and you can look that up on the community college website. You can look it up at the trade school and get a general idea. Mostly community colleges require are not specific and are not asking for a whole list of things to be completed. Mostly they are looking for the student to pass their entrance exams, which are much, much less difficult or cumbersome than the SAT or the ACT. So, so that takes care of step one. Step two, let's talk about curriculum. Um, Choosing high school curriculum is it's amazing what's out there now. There's so much out there. And I find that for folks starting high school, choosing curriculum can feel a little daunting. And so I have in my chapter on curriculum, it starts out with two resources that I think are really great to get started in looking at high school curriculum. Let's see if I can find that here. So for choosing your high school curriculum, the two sources that I highly recommend are on page 20. The first is the site called letshomeschoolhighschool.com, and they have a list of links to tons of Christian high school curriculum and also secular high school curriculum. And that's a great place to look at to get ideas. My second recommendation is a site called the Curriculum Choice, where I've been blessed to be one of their authors there. And on the Curriculum Choice, they have reviews for, again, tons of curriculum. And the reviews are written by experienced homeschool moms who actually use that curriculum in their homeschool. So then you get their viewpoint, hands-on, of what they think about that curriculum. And another place to look is just in my chapter about curriculum. And so here's an example. Here's the science page, if you can get an idea. Oh, there, it's hard. I don't think I have a good picture here, but this is the, in my chapter on curriculum, I had list the ones that we liked, and I also list ones that we also recommend, but we chose not to use. And so there's tons of ideas there too. In fact, that might be a beginning place to start because it's less overwhelming. And that is in chapter, let's see, chapter 5 of my book. In my book on the curriculum, I also discuss what the general requirements are, say like science, usually it's 2 credits, and I give more details about that related to college. And if that's of interest, then that's also in my book on curriculum. And let's then go ahead. This is my favorite topic, assigning high school credit. And really, there are 3 easy ways to assign high school credit. And that's in my next chapter. Let's see if I can grab that one here. Okay, so this is, oh, this is chapter 6, which describes 3 ways to assign high school credit. And I got this information from researching a number of sites and from my experience, and it's also included information from HSLDA, which is a really good homeschool site. And so I break down 3 different ways to assign credit. The first I call the textbook method. Now, when you do a course, you might think, if my child hasn't completed the entire textbook, then they haven't made a year's credit, which is considered 1 credit. That is not true. According to my research, in fact, I'll give you a quote from HSLDA. Covering the material in a textbook does not necessarily mean doing every problem, answering every question, or reading the book from cover to cover, but you should diligently cover the material presented. Some authors calculate teaching 75% of a textbook to equal 1 credit, but the bottom line is don't shortchange your child. So that gives you a ballpark. If you have a course that's using a textbook such as math or science, any course that uses a textbook, if they've completed around 75%, then that is considered that they've done the year's work, which is 1 credit. So let's go on to another way of calculating credit. So let's say that you have a course such as your child is in a speech and debate program. There's a number of them out there, especially for homeschoolers. And let's say that they did all the activities for the semester, which should be a half credit, or for the year, which should be a full credit. All you need to do is get a general idea of the hours that they spent in those activities. So generally, the average for a credit using the hours method is 150 hours equals 1 credit or 1 year of credit. 75 is the average for a semester. And I want to also reassure you, you do not have to have your student keep real detailed records of the time they spent. Just generally, they spent an hour, they spent a half hour, they spent 45 minutes, and then they just have them tabulate that on a form. And I have forms for that in my book. And then that's another way that you can easily assign credit to your student. Okay, and let's look at the third way of assigning credit that also is an easy way to do it. I call it the mastery method. And in the mastery method, your student has shown that they have mastery of the skills that you were having them assigning to them. For example, if your student wanted to learn video making and they studied it and they completed, say, 3 videos using the information that they got from their studies. If they've completed 3 videos and it took, let's say, a semester, then you could give them a credit based on mastery for a semester. They worked on it all year and they're showing mastery of the skill. Could be photography, could be video making, could be speech and speech and debate. If they're showing the skills that you're looking for, then there you go. Then they've achieved their credit. And more information on that, which I think is explained better than the way I explained it verbally, is in my book. I'm more of a writer than a speaker, so I hope that I hope I'm doing okay here. So, okay, that is step 3, assigning credit, which is very important. Um, then step 4, let's talk about homeschool transcripts. This is one of the most commonly stressful activity that needs to be done for your student if they're going to homeschool. And it is mostly stressful for those who hear about it and think, oh my, that's going to be hard. But in reality, it is not hard to do at all. So in my chapter on transcripts, based on my research from a number of sites, I came up with a list of the basics that need to be on the transcript. And I have those listed, and not that you can read it here, but it's in the book, and there's specifics as to what needs to go on the transcript. And that's basically the name, the address, the name of your school, um, and the courses that were completed and the number of credits that were earned and so forth. And I have a sample transcript in the book, and I also have a form that you can use as your transcript form to submit to the college. The most important thing that tends to come up when I talk with families is the question, is my homeschool transcript going to be accepted by the college or by the trade school, the community college? And from my experience, homeschool transcripts are accepted at every college that I have researched. There might be a few exceptions where they've decided that they're going to ask for an accredited transcript, but I haven't seen that. There are a few colleges that will list out special extra requirements for the homeschool students, such as they might want you to have the student take a foreign language test or something in addition to the transcript. But homeschool transcripts are accepted by colleges all throughout the United States. Accredited transcripts are not necessary. And um, even course descriptions that you hear about also when you're thinking about high school, not all colleges require course descriptions. Some do, and so there's a chapter on that also in my book. Um, but be reassured that your student can go to college with their homeschool transcript as long as they have completed the requirements set by the college, and they've gone through admissions and been accepted. So that's the most important thing, I think, to know, is to be confident that that homeschool transcript is accepted. In my chapter on transcript, I also talk about calculating the GPA, which also is easy to do. And um, that brings us on to step number 5. Now, this is my also very favorite topic to talk about, is high school electives. My daughter had so much fun with the time that she had to do high school electives and high school activities. And therefore, I put together a list of more than 100 high school activities and electives for you to consider for your student. Did you know that high school electives and activities also can help your student get into college? So in this chapter, I talk about, like I said, 100 different ideas for electives, like business, math, archaeology, coding, um, music appreciation, nature study, and there's links that go along with this that you will get when you if you decide to purchase the book. In addition to the electives, the list of electives, I also have tips for sharing electives with the college. And there's 4 different ways to do that I list here. And all of them don't have to be, if you have high school activities, all of them don't have to show on the transcript. There's a place on the application, college application, where you can list off your students' high school activities. So as far as electives, um, it's such a fun time to be with alongside your student as they're beginning to, like, they look at the list to get ideas, or they already know what they're interested in, art or sciences, or specifically marine science or something. It's so exciting to be alongside them while they're exploring their interests. And that's a big part of homeschooling high school. And that's one of the reasons we decided to continue all the way, was to allow our student time so that she could explore her own gifts and figure out what she might want to do. My daughter was interested in speech and debate, and so she joined a elective activity that was available here that's sponsored by the YMCA, and that's called Youth and Government. And so in that activity, she learned how to do speech and debate, and then she developed an interest in government and continued with that activity and participated in their like their statewide meetings where they enacted they'd had their own mock legislature and they got to act like they're a legislator, that sort of thing. And from that experience in high school, that led her to choose a major that included political science. And now her first job, she's working as a campaign manager for a candidate for our state legislature. So that's just one example of how high school electives can be such a gift to your student. And it's that you homeschool, that you have the extra time and you're right there to support them as they explore new things. And any teen would like that extra support while they're trying new things. So there we go. That's electives. Then I would want to add one more step, which would be step 6, homeschool courses. And that's another benefit as homeschoolers, that we can put together our own courses. And that can be something as as simple as putting together a photography course, or putting together a video making course. And I have a chapter on that in my book also. And there's just so many different easy ways to make a homeschool course. And what we did was, with a video making course, I I helped my daughter to find the resources she would need to learn the skill, and then the equipment that she would need, and um, then just I was her mentor as she helped her to be organized and put together her videos. And so what we did is we kept track of the hours that she spent doing that, and then I could give her credit based on the hours method. Um, for photography, that was another elective that we did, and basically we just went out. I love photography, and so I shared that hobby with her, and we went out so many times all throughout homeschooling, and I taught her my what I knew about photography, and she did some research also, and then she became that became a high school. Oh, that's my cat over here, who's right here. She's helping me now. That became a homemade course in photography. And in fact, now she has a site um, on the web for doing photography for oh, like a wedding, not weddings, but engagement pictures and that sort of thing. So I have in the back of the book, oh, there goes the kitty again. I have a form for that where you can just put the name of your course, and then you can have for your student to write down the time that they spend if you're wanting to go that route. And then that kind of form never does need to go to the college. That's just for yourself, for your own record keeping. While I'm in that section here, I'd like to show you um, another form that I made, which is related to course descriptions. Really, the hardest part about course descriptions are just describing what your student did for a course. And I'm not going to go into depth on that today, but I have a form called record keeping. There we go. Record keeping for there here. I think I got it. For course descriptions. And it's just a place to jot down after you've decided what the courses are and as you go through the year to jot down what's the major books used, what's the major videos used, what websites, what generally was done in the course. And writing it down on this form, and you're welcome to copy extra forms from the book for yourself, then you have all that detail in place so that when you go about writing course descriptions, you've got the information right there, and then it's easy to put it together. And I have a chapter on that in my book also. So I'm just wanting to get the cat settled here. Um, I'm just wanting to now say that any questions that you have on homeschooling high school and planning high school, I will get back to you and answer if you would leave comments on this video. And I'm just so happy to be here with you today and to encourage you, especially new moms who are brand new to homeschooling, that doing high school at home has many advantages and is not hard to do. Um, Easier than training a kitten.